Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Dr. Arnold Nerenberg. Been licensed to practice as a clinical psychologist in the state of California since 1974. I've been licensed to walk upon this earth since 1941. What a journey it's been, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. I say that with all sincerity. It's my intention in meeting with you today. It's a great privilege to be in your presence and to communicate with you, to be able to illumine certain truths that are already within yourself. I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know, but to illumine those truths that are already within you so it rises into consciousness in terms of thought, word, and action. Certain thoughts that are and ideas that you have already that are very important and will change your life because it will put it into more focus for you over the long term. So thank you again for the opportunity to address you. The title of today's presentation is Enough is Enough. I will not, cannot continue to be treated this way. Enough is enough. I will not, cannot continue to be treated this way. We've all hit those points at different parts of our lives. It happens at an individual level and a collective level. It's what happens in demonstrations and revolutions. At this particular time, for example, we have in Iran, our Iranian brothers and sisters, protests going on for some time now about the oppression that's there. Particularly the women are in the forefront of these protests. Very courageous people, very beautiful and lovely people, saying, enough is enough. And without guns, without tanks, with any way of committing violence, just coming into the streets and protesting. Basically saying enough is enough. And being killed for it, being imprisoned by it. And those prisons are very severe in Iran, very severe. In the government, unlike a democracy, in a democracy, the people who are elected to position are responsible to the will of the people. It's not like that in Iran. The Iranian government considers itself not responsible for the will of the people or have to respond to it, but only to the will of Quran and Hadith. So there's no responsibility to respond to the will of the people, no matter how just those demands are, those requests are. Now, all of this is generated by one thing. When I say enough is enough, I will not, cannot continue to be treated this way, it's always related to one thing, and one thing only: injustice, not being treated fairly. We're going to talk about it at the national level, international level, but also on people's jobs, on their corporations, the businesses they work for. But also at a national level, you have revolutions. The French people, at one point, 300 years ago, starving the masses. You had the French Revolution. In Russia, the starving masses said, it's enough is enough, and they were willing to die. They said, we're going to rise up. And you had the Bolshevik Revolution. We had the American Revolution, 1776. Yes, enough is enough. We're not going to put up with the suppression that we have from England. So people will rise up, violently or non-violently, as it is now in Iran. It's non-violent, but it's been done violently many times. People reach a point in saying, I will not, cannot continue to be treated this way. Say, whatever you're going to do to me, whatever the consequences are, I'm not putting up with this. It happens in relationships. Marriage, boyfriend and girlfriend say, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. Enough is enough. People reach that point. A boundary is crossed. Person feels abused and violated. Enough. So whatever's going to happen, whatever the consequence in terms of physical harm, financial harm, legal harm, whatever it is, I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. So we're talking about at a national level, we're talking about at jobs and careers and the corporate level, we're talking about at relationship level, interpersonal relationships. But a more subtle way, it happens at an intrapersonal level within ourselves. A person says, I'm tired of always being miserable. I'm tired of always being negative. I'm sick and tired. I'm not going to put up with being this way anymore. I want to develop a more positive attitude. I want to live a more wholesome life, a healthier life. I'm tired of doing this to myself. I mean, people get tired of oppressing themselves. We've all been there as well. Say, I'm tired of making myself miserable. And you have at all levels. Intrapersonal, interpersonal, national, international, corporate. At every level, we go, hey, enough is enough. I will not, cannot continue to be treated this way. Just not going to take it anymore. Every human being hits that point. I'm just not going to take it anymore. Now, that's the point where things start to change. Often it has to get to that point. A person that might be abusing themselves through alcohol and drugs and destroying their lives, enough's enough. I'm just not going to do this to myself anymore. I've been living on the streets, destitute, hungry, getting various diseases, getting beat up on the streets, whatever. I'm just not going to do it anymore. And people start turning their lives around. Enough is enough. It's really a turning point. It's a good thing when a person says enough is enough. And again, it's always generated by injustice and unfairness. Either somebody is unfair to us, or some country's unfair to us, or the employer is unfair to us, or we are unfair to ourselves. And that's a huge one. That's where we have the most control, where we're not being fair to ourselves. And that's universal across the board. People are not fair to themselves. It can always grow in being more fair, which is basically to say people could be more honorable to themselves and others. Now, in terms of the workplace, you have people feeling harassed by the supervisors. They may come in a minute late. Somebody else comes in a minute late. Others come in a minute late. No write-ups. You come in a minute late, you're written up. It's a big deal. So it's applying the rules in a discriminatory manner. People just run through it all the time. A new supervisor comes in and has to prove he's doing something, earning his money, and starts picking on the different people. They're making them miserable or micromanaging them. Happens all the time. People become miserable over this. On the job, somebody feels they're just being criticized all the time. No appreciation is shown for the 20 years, 30 years of loyalty to the company. They just feel they're a number. No concern for their needs as a human being. They feel so betrayed. And their anxiety is high. Their depression is high. It has a bad effect with their partners or their wives and their husbands and on their children. So in a way, it's not fair for them for you to keep going through that. You say, I'm destroying myself and I'm destroying my family. I don't see my kids. My kids don't get to see me. They're not receiving the guidance and the love that I want to give them. I get home, I'm too tired to really give much to my family. I see so many people that work 10, 20, 30, 40 years never taking a break. Or they need some time off to go to a funeral and they can't get it. My spouse is sick and they can't get the time off. I've seen it plenty of times. So eventually they say, enough is enough. I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. People go out on disability. So I'm not going to do it anymore. I can't. They go out on disability. The American Disability Act in America, they can get money from the government, a policy that you paid into. And this is honorable because it was unfair to be putting yourself through this. It was unfair to your loved ones to not be able to give them the time and the love and the care that you feel they deserve and that you want to give them. This is an honorable alternative when people go on disability. And it's hard because I have many people who never stop working. They've always worked. They have a strong work ethic, and they're saying, enough is enough. And take that time out to get the therapy, to heal and recover. It's a beautiful opportunity, beautiful. And it's honorable. Because it was not honorable to just destroy ourselves and not being able to give that time some kind of a balance where we're giving time to the people that need us, the people that depend on us. Sure, we want to provide the money, but there's also that moral, spiritual responsibility also to give to our loved ones. So it could be through being harassed or overworked. One person is willing to take on the responsibilities, doesn't say no to the manager, so the manager just keeps piling up the work. Other people do not take, when they want to give the work to them, they make excuses why they can't do it. But somebody's trying to be cooperative, be a good employee, keep taking on the work to the point where they can't handle it anymore. Or the employer gives you more work than the previous day, and then you see you handling it, more work the next day. The more responsibilities they take on, now that becomes the new normal. So now we're going to give you this much more work because you're handling it. So you try to be honorable, loyal to the company, and many people feel taken advantage. This leads to being worked to a point where it's not even safe. So really, there's no honor. There's no honor in abandoning our families. There's no honor in abandoning our health. There's no honor in that. Going on disability, that option is an avenue, a venue for behaving honorably. To be able to heal, receive the therapy, recover, and grow. Now let's look at the most universal injustice in the world. It's what we do to ourselves, what I've done to myself, what you've done to yourself. If you go shopping in any supermarket and see what people put in their shopping carts, I mean, they're poisoning themselves, they're just abusing themselves, they're killing themselves. Almost everybody who dies in our country, and in most countries, are dying prematurely. They didn't have to die when they did. Just didn't have to happen. It was going to happen, but maybe 20 years prematurely, maybe 40 years prematurely. By the stress levels, the negative thinking, toxic foods, toxic water, toxic air. This is self-oppression. This is like suicide. I mean, people killing themselves slowly, drinking, smoking, not getting movement, leading sedentary lifestyles. This isn't fair to ourselves. This isn't fair to you. It's not fair. It's not right. So all of the enough is enough. You've done it enough. You've destroyed yourself enough. Or those dark places you go to in yourself where you felt hurt, humiliated, and you're brooding over an anger that goes on and on. Maybe looking for revenge and resentments and just swimming in an ocean of negativity. At some point you say, well, wait a minute. Enough is enough. It's just killing you. At some point you say, hey, enough is enough. Cannot continue to be treated this way by yourself. You don't want to continue to be treated that way by yourself. Now, the teachings of honor that I give are a way to increase resilience. So you go down, you get depressed, you get anxious, whatever, but you come up a lot more quickly. Honor demands getting out of that as quickly as possible. Not to destroy yourself. That's unjust and dishonorable. To destroy yourself is dishonor. To destroy yourself is not honorable. To destroy yourself is not honorable. You have a destiny, a calling, a purpose in this life you need to stay alive for. You have people who depend on you, who love you, who need you to be here. And you're killing yourselves. And a lot of it's by living in those dark, negative spaces. So I'm going to give you a little summary of the honor teachings, what I've talked about in many of my videos, many of my lectures. A little summary. The 4 commandments of honor are the 4 most powerful thoughts in the universe to help you reverse that negativity in the most rapid way possible. Crafted to be absorbed within the psyche. You have what's called bioavailable, where you take certain food supplements. Let's say you're taking resveratrol, but to absorb it better, you take fish oil with it. It becomes more bioavailable. Well, the wording I've given on the commandments of honor makes it more psyche available. It took me over a 40, 50-year period. I worked on carefully crafting these thoughts so that it's available to the psyche. It's very psyche available. So exact wording is important. That's why I have my people memorize it. I wish you well. I take full responsibility for co-creating my reality and my problems. I'm grateful for the power I gain from hardship. And then one of two, depends whether somebody believes in God or not. If they don't believe in God or don't want to address God, I seek always to serve my highest values. If you believe in God as I do, God, your wish is my only wish. So for me, the 4 commandments of honor will be: God, your wish is my only wish. I wish you well. I take full responsibility for co-creating my reality and my problems. And I'm grateful for the power I gain from hardship. 8 seconds. That's 24 seconds a day. And you will be feeding yourself the most healthy thoughts in the universe. Now, to know this isn't enough. You have to pledge yourself to repeating it 3 times a day for the rest of your life. Just hearing this isn't going to change you. Taking the pledge and keeping to doing it 3 times a day will. You'll be living a more honorable life because you're not going to keep yourself in those dark places. So the pledge to become a disciple of honor goes this way. As a disciple of honor, I pledge myself all the days of my life to the 4 commandments of honor. And I'll teach them to those I love. I'll repeat them every morning, afternoon, and evening, and listen to myself recite them. Interviewing about over 1,100 of my patients over a 6-year period, now over 95% of people feel good right away as soon as they take that pledge. Over 95% of the people feel more hope right away as soon as taking that pledge. Over 92% of the people feel more meaning in their lives right away after taking the pledge. So right away, it starts turning that darkness into light. Then to increase the probability that we're going to apply the 4 commandments of honor in any situation, I created what I call the bridge. It's a bridge from the teachings of honor to the reality of our lives. The bridge is this. What's the most honorable thing to think, say, and do? What's the most honorable thing to think, say, and do? So I have people repeat the 4 commandments of honor 3 times a day, and then the bridge. Very simple system. And there's nothing new in that. You already believe it. You already know these principles. You already believe in them. So when people take the pledge, they're not committing to something alien to themselves. It's already in them. I call them commandments of honor because we're commanding the honor that's already within us to rise up into consciousness in terms of thoughts, words, and actions. They're really self-commandments of honor. And then the bridge is a way of life. Now, the repetition is preparation for application. Honor becomes the gold standard for everything in life. Not happiness. We're not seeking happiness as disciples of honor. We're seeking honor, which is the foundation of true happiness. So it's a paradigm shift. We're seeking honor. And I'm defining honor as loyalty to your highest constructive values as enshrined in the 4 commandments of honor, while striving to cause no harm physically and emotionally. Now, for those who want to go to a greater commitment to honor, that'll take you there. The 4 commandments of honor, the bridge, that's going to help you to be honorable in terms of oppressing yourself. You know how much you've oppressed yourself, every one of you, including myself. I did it long enough to say, hey, I'm done with that. I don't want to be doing that. And I know you're tired. You've got to be tired of it. Whatever your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend's doing to you doesn't compare to what you do to you. It doesn't even come close. It's like somebody stabs you, boom, and then most people take that knife and go like that with it. So the knife going in is painful. This is even worse, going like that with that knife. You got to be fed up with that. You got to be fed up with doing that to yourself. I've been. As soon as I spot myself going back to those paths, wait a minute. No. I wish you well. Hey, I co-created this. I'm not going to go into... There's different ways to bury yourself. One is to blame people. You got blaming for what's going on. That'll bury you quickly in darkness. Blaming will bury you quickly in that darkness, and you're not going to come out because you go, oh, you did this to me, you did that to me, you did that. You're not coming out of that for a while. Once, you know that. You've done enough blaming. I've done enough blaming. You start that going. Well, watch how many times you tell yourself that story, and then you go tell your friends and your relatives the story. You're just going to bury yourself in that darkness. I'm an expert. I've done more of it than any of you because I'm older than you. We don't have to be doing that. You're dishonoring yourself. Now, one of the thoughts I use to lighten up on myself, I go, well, that's ridiculous, silly Willie. There you go again, my boy. Why are you frowning up? Let's get the hell out of here. I call it get the hell out of here therapy. I don't want to stay in that darkness. You don't. I know you don't want to stay there. So we're talking again, enough is enough. I will not, cannot continue to be treated in this way. I know we've talked about it at a national level, international level, corporate level, job, relationship. More important than any of that, and that's all important, and it has to be addressed at every level, but the most important level is doing it to ourselves. You're doing it to yourself. Not one of you, if I said, do you want to keep doing this to yourself? Not one of you go, yeah, doc, I want to keep torturing myself. I like it. I want to do more of it. No, you're not going to say that. You say, yeah, it's time for me to stop. You may not be able to stop it suddenly, but you go in this direction. So I'm not saying you're not going to get depressed or anxious or get another panic attack or get stressed out. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm only going to tell you that as you follow the way of honor, you'll be resilient. You'll come back up a lot faster, a lot more quickly. In fact, more and more quickly. So let's say you're getting a negative thought towards somebody. I want to just slap this guy. He's insulted me. It's not the first time he said this to me, said that to me. You're not responsible for that thought. You didn't choose it. It's based on your genetics, your family upbringing, societal norms. And you balance it with a thought. I wish you well. I wish you well, bro. I really do. You're having that thought. Now, the negative thought, just to be honest, is more powerful than a negative thought. And you're not finding the negative, you're balancing it with I wish you well, just for an example. Well, you're not feeding it. That keeps you from digging that tunnel deeper. You're not going deeper into that cave. You're not violating yourself. You're not deliberately, what you have under your control, it's not totally under your control, but that part is, I wish you well. And what happens when you're doing that is, then when negative thoughts come back, they come less often, with less intensity and less duration. So there's hope. The way of honor is a path of no regrets and optimal resiliency. That would be the term, optimal resiliency. Then, if you go to a more elite level, to be what I call a devotee of honor, then that's it. You take that pledge, you're agreeing to do the Supremacy of Honor Code at least once a day. The Supremacy of Honor Code is this: honor before pride, honor before anger, honor before sex, honor before money, honor before fear, honor before everything, honor before life itself. And then when people take a pledge regarding becoming a devotee of honor, it goes this way. As a devotee of honor, I pledge myself all the days of my life to the supremacy of honor code. And I'll bring it to the world for a more just society. Because a lot of your suffering, a lot of mine has been, and a lot of yours, maybe most, is putting your pride before honor, putting your pride before everything. And when I talk about pride, I'm talking about ego and vanity, putting that before everything. So on this path of honor, we're putting honor before pride. That makes us more humble. We can apologize. We can back out of the wrongs we've done. We basically can repent. It's a path of repentance. If you follow the way of honor, it's a path of repentance. Because you can say, yeah, I co-created it, not just a victim. And you can apologize to whomever. You can ask forgiveness. You can ask God for forgiveness. You can acknowledge the wrong that you've done, as I acknowledge the wrongs that I've done. It's a beautiful path. Optimal resiliency. I know you're going to like it. I know many of you are already on this path, and I know you like it. So, enough is enough. I cannot continue to be treated this way. Jay, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, Doctor, at some point in our lives, whether it be a personal life or our professional lives, we've all ran into a situation like this. And it comes down to, how do we deal with it? We need to deal with it with honor and not anger.
Yes, because you want to go to fairness, not revenge.
Exactly. And it's now I feel that I could deal with it with honor and not anger or disappointment or revenge.
That's a beautiful thing. Well, Jay, I've known you for a while now, quite a while, and you were very ready for this. I mean, you were totally ready, receptive. Nobody had to twist your arm about anything. You were just in.
No, I believe in this process 100%. There's no doubt whatsoever.
Excellent. Tracy, any thoughts or comments, Tracy?
I so appreciate whoever sent me the link, and I so appreciate all the steps. I appreciate the affirmations. Each time I listen to them, I feel like strengthened, and this conversation was so helpful for me. My challenge, I think, Doctor, as I think you know, is that I think I know my answer. I just have to kind of accept it, and I'm comfortable and I'm good right now, but I think my next step might make me be less so.
Now,
but thank you.
Now, one thing I want to ask first, I can't see the name up here. To who am I speaking?
It's Tracy Nordbeck.
Oh, Tracy Nordbeck. Okay, because there are a couple of Tracys online. Okay, Tracy Nordbeck. Okay, yeah. All I can tell you, Tracy Nordbeck, is as you follow this path, you can't damage yourself in any fundamental way. Some things may go not exactly the way you expected or the way you wanted, but you won't be damaging yourself, and it's a path of no regrets. You're up here, when your intention's honorable, there's no regrets. People may misunderstand it and react in a negative way because they misunderstood the intention, but as long as we know our intentions are honorable, it'll be a path of no regrets. Stacy, thank you, Tracy. Stacy, any thoughts or comments?
I really enjoyed that you opened up with kind of injustice on a global level and oppression and what that looks like, and also how inspiring it is to see, these gunless citizens kind of say enough is enough and rise up, and women too, who are
Mostly
really,
women.
like,
Mostly women. Yes.
yeah, brutally oppressed there, and to see them fight, it what it did for me. I'll be honest, right? Because I'm a self-oppressing person for sure. I mean,
Everybody is. Stacy, that's humanity. You represent humanity when you say that.
Yeah, and I can see that, and when I saw these women 50, 60 days ago, I go, wow, wow. And it really made me turn inside, and it has. And I've been watching it. I watched the soccer game today. Iran played U.S. and they lost. But anyways, there was a lot you said, but the violating ourselves above all the other injustices and the violations that I pay attention to, I do also violate myself that way, and
that's the biggest, and that's universal, Stacy. That's universal. And once a person goes, enough is enough, I'm not going to continue treating myself this way. I'm really glad to hear you say that, and I like the way you take ownership of the dimensions of yourself. I think that's wonderful. A beautiful way to be.
Thank you. Optimal resilience. That was the last thing that you said that I wanted to point out. That is the key. That's the goal here.
Optimal resilience. I just coined that term as we're talking because I get so inspired standing before you. The term optimal resilience just came to me, and I'm so grateful to be inspired by being here with you to give you the concept, optimal resilience.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thank you for being here to bring it out of me. You weren't here. I don't know if it would have emerged. Anybody else here Frank, anything you want to add or say?
No, I kind of, I'm along the same lines, of what everybody's pitching in and saying. We do violate ourselves in many different ways, through food, through substances, lack of self-care, overworking. Everything you touched on was on point. And sometimes, unless you hear it from somebody else, you don't realize that you're doing it to yourself. It gives you a chance to be able to self-reflect and kind of put a pause on things and just kind of, look at the big picture and kind of put things in perspective. So I appreciate that. That's
what the whole way of honor is. It puts things in perspective, Frank. The perspective itself is healing. The perspective itself is healing. Also, knowing that we're not alone in doing this. It's a universal oppression. Humanity has oppressed itself since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
I mean, people have always oppressed themselves. And oppressing others, we know about it, that's visible, but the self-oppression and how we create toxic environments for ourselves, very dangerous, extremely dangerous. Yeah. Now, I don't know who else is here, right? I can't see Tracy.
I'd like to say something.
Oh, is that there? The other Tracy?
I'm here.
Tracy Malgaza, my goddaughter. Yes, there we go. The other Tracy.
Yeah. Well, enough is enough has come and gone so many times in my life, and it's the goal is to make it come less and less, especially using these commandments. I'll never allow you to control my anger ever. God, your wish is my only wish. I will only respond to your vulnerability. I will not respond to your negativity, and I will only respond to my own vulnerability. I will not respond to my own negativity. And other quotes that I've learned from other coaches, if it disturbs my peace, I need to release. I am that I am, and I will achieve it. I will no longer doubt myself anymore. I will release everyone who doubts me, and I will put myself first. And just so many others. I mean, enough is enough. like I said, has come so many times, and it's just about working toward your peace and the goal of gaining your highest constructive values of your honor and your highest level of self-respect.
Well, you know, they're really...
It's hard, but...
No, go ahead. Yeah. Sorry, Tracy.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say it's hard. I mean, it's a struggle. It can be a struggle daily. You know, we can have our good days and bad days, but I feel like the ultimate goal is to enough is enough, less and less, and to be, you know, empowered by yourself and those you look up to more and more.
The whole idea of release that you're talking about. Now, the best way, honor is a path of release. I'm glad the other coaches, you got that terminology, release. It's a good term. One way, a couple of ways to release. If you say, I should just release this pain. Well, what I'm giving you is a way to release it. To say, I want to release it is one thing. That's a good start, but it doesn't tell you how to do it. The way to do it is you have to wish that person well. I wish you well. That's a release. Another release is I take full responsibility for co-creating my reality and my problems. I can't just blame you for what happened. I co-created it. That's a release. So these are specific ways of releasing. Now, there's 25 laws of honor. Tracy was referring to some of those, plus she was talking about some things from other coaches. But one of the laws of honor is I release you to your destiny and I wish you well. Good way to release whomever. Or if you're having stress with that, doesn't mean you're breaking up, you're not going to see them again, but I release you to your destiny and I wish you well. These are specific ways to release. I would say the way of honor, it produces optimal resilience and optimal release. That's another term I'm just introducing. Thanks for bringing that term to my awareness, right? Optimal release. Yeah, it does produce optimal release. It gives us a way to release. Beautiful. Thanks, Tracy. Good. Anybody else have anything you want to... Oh, Lydia, you there, Lydia?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, I've just been reflecting on this topic of like the self-sabotage, and I was thinking how sometimes like past hurts can reverberate and it colors our perceptions, and it can seem like we're listening to our intuition, or like our intuition is telling us something, but really it's just from a place of hurt and woundedness. Wow.
You always say such, Lydia, always say such concise, awesome things. You know, I'll tell you about pain. Either pain is going to contain you, or you're going to contain the pain. I'm going to expand on that in a moment. Either the pain is going to contain you, or if you decide, and there's a way to do this, you contain the pain. So when the pain contains you, you're just lost in a vortex of darkness and its reverberation, these past memories. And you're just lost in it. You don't even know it's you in it. You're just swimming in a sea of darkness. That's the pain containing you. Now, one of the most powerful ways of containing the pain is, I call it the derivative of the warrior's commandment of honor. The warrior's commandment of honor is, I'm grateful for the power I gain from hardship. So the derivative is this: God, I'm extremely grateful for the magnificent, wonderful gift of trials and tribulations that bring me closer to you. God, I'm extremely grateful for the wonderful, magnificent gift of trials and tribulations that bring me closer to you. Now, that's where you contain the pain. Because then you're looking at that pain. I mean, the pain is what it is. Whatever the oppression is, it is. But now you're containing it because you're looking at it as a gift, knowing that it's going to bring you more to your higher self, your divine self, or bring you closer to God, bring you to your higher nature, however you want to phrase that. Do not allow yourself to be contained by your suffering. You must contain it. I can't emphasize how important that is. Do not allow your suffering to contain you, because then you're just in that cave. You're in the womb of suffering. But you contain it by embracing it as a gift. You embrace it as a gift because you will come out stronger from it. That's a fact. You go, wow, this is awesome. I mean, it feels like it's killing me, but it's awesome. I know I'm going to come out of this thing. Look, without that suffering, you cannot achieve compassion. Impossible. Without that suffering, you cannot possibly achieve wisdom. Without that suffering, you cannot possibly achieve greatness. So you're then given greater potential towards compassion, wisdom, and greatness. There's the gift. You want to contain your suffering and not be contained by it. Now, that's a new concept I've thought about for a while, but the first time I've articulated it. I'd like to get any feedback. Anybody want to say anything about that concept, containing your suffering as opposed to being contained by it?
So
Stacey?
in a way, you're saying like it's a matter of letting it move through you and not identifying with the suffering. Is that sort of what you mean?
Well, it does distance you in that way. It does give you a distance from it. Involves an awareness. You're aware. You're not just in the pain. You're aware. You say, okay, I'm in this. I'm in the darkness. I'm going through a lot of anger. I'm going through depression. I'm anxious. You're now aware. You have the awareness. And then, it's not like it's going through you. And then you say, well, this is a gift. So you become the wrapping. This is a gift. It's going to bring me closer to my divine nature, my higher nature, closer to God, to my highest values. It's the terminology of something going through you, things just come and go, the flow. That's all true. This is a way to alter the quality of the suffering. Once you contain it in this way, it's still there. The problem is still there, whatever it is. But the quality of the suffering is altered significantly. You're saying it's a gift. Well, you say, why is that a gift? This is great. I mean, it feels like hell, right? But it's a gift. I mean, it's just awesome. And it's doable, let me tell you. That attitude, but you have to be repeating. I repeat that at least 3 times a day, that derivative, because I've seen what it's like to be contained by suffering. I know what it's like to contain it and not be ruled by it. It's a magnificent, magnificent gift. So when you're suffering, you're going through something, you say, wow, this is so awesome. I don't see exactly where it's leading right now, but I know it's adding to my wisdom and my capacity for compassion. I'll even take it a step further. If you, like I said, you can't achieve greatness, true greatness, without suffering. The greater your suffering, the greater potential for greatness. Somebody hasn't suffered, they just coasted through life, which is practically impossible, but it can happen. They didn't have any ups or downs, just peaceful, nice life. Well, you could say that's good, but you could even say that he's blessed or she's blessed. You could also say person's not going to achieve anything. It's just not going to happen. Not of anything great significance. to really truly contribute and add value to the world and to your loved ones, you must go through the suffering. You want to contain the suffering and not be contained by it. I like what you said a lot, Lydia. Thank you. Anybody else have a comment on the concept of containing our suffering as opposed to being contained by it?
I have something to say. So what I'm getting from this is that to be grateful so that you can experience the compassion, wisdom, and greatness that comes from trials and tribulations.
What is your name, please?
Bernice.
Oh, Bernice. Great, Bernice.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Bernice. Yeah, that's exactly right. Bernice, it's a matter of, you may not be feeling that wisdom right then and that compassion right then for anybody or achieving greatness at that moment, but you know it's increased your potential to manifest your greatness, your compassion, your wisdom. You know while you're in it, your potential is being expanded. Now, some people become bitter and defeated by it, but not a disciple of honor. Once you follow the way of honor, your greatness will manifest, your potential will manifest in terms of wisdom, your potential will manifest in terms of compassion, because you're not going to be defeated. Once you follow the way of honor, your potential's enhanced, everybody's potential's enhanced, but when you follow the way of honor, you'll manifest that potential. You're much more likely to manifest the potential than if you're not following the way of honor. So many people are bitter and angry because they're not following the honor way.
And move away from the self-oppression.
You move away from self-oppression because of the honor, because once you say, I see the potential expanding, and you're grateful, the oppression changes. You still might feel like hell. I'm not saying you're instantly going to feel great, but it's going to change the whole way you're perceiving it. Look, you go to a doctor, he injects you with something, it hurts, it sticks the needle in you, you go, damn, it's a pain. But if you believe that shot is going to give you greater health or save your life, it's painful, but you say, wow, this is great. It's painful, but yeah. And after that, it still hurts, but man, I know this was a good thing for me. You go through a surgery, same thing. You're cutting you open, afterwards you're in pain, but you know it's all towards a healing. You still suffered from the surgical procedure, no doubt about it, or the procedure being stuck with needles or being cut open for whatever reason. But you know it's going to lead to longer, healthier life. See, so wow, this is wonderful. I'm so grateful for this procedure. So these pains and anxieties and depressions, they expand the vessel where we're capable of achieving more greatness, more compassion, more wisdom, and by the way of honor, will facilitate the manifesting of that potential. These are good points you're making, Bernice, really good points.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate your emphasis on not only not accepting from our environment what we're not willing to accept anymore, but what we're not willing to accept from ourselves anymore.
You know, enough is enough. You know, in German, it's genug ist genug. I mean, it might be in Yiddish as well, but definitely German. Genug ist genug. Enough is enough. Might be a good thing to tell us. Might be a good thing to tell ourselves when we're doing these things. Right? Enough is enough.
Yeah, because I know I've taken myself through the ringer in my head about, you know, choices I've made or things that I've allowed or accepted, and it's like, you know, just move past it and with greater wisdom from having experienced something like that.
No, you will come to greater wisdom. I mean, I remember my father said to me, he said, son, I have a lot of good advice to give you. Not because I've been so smart, it's just I've been so stupid. And our own stupidity will help us to help many people. I know my stupidity is an important part of my credential to help many people. And your stupidity will be a good credential to help you help many people.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be able to identify with the foibles and frailties of humankind. You see yourself in a person. You're doing this dumb thing to yourself. Hey, I know all about it. I've done it many times. Here's how I got out of it. I do that with my people that I do therapy and help in life and guide. You say, well, you're doing that? I know just what you're doing to yourself. I've done it. Here's the way out. And that's what you're developing.
I love that.
Yeah, that's what you're developing.
It's vulnerability.
The vulnerability.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we violate ourselves in an infinite number of ways. By how we eat, the air we let ourselves breathe. We don't even pay attention to the air.
Mm-hmm.
But the thoughts we entertain is just absolutely killing people. They're killing themselves. Oh, I'm an expert on it. I went to so many dark caves, and at some point in my life, I was about 31, I said, I know I need protection from my own inner darkness. Now, I consider honor to be a shield against protecting us from our own inner darkness of this self-oppression.
Mm-hmm.
Honor is the shield for self-protection against ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. It leads to it optimizes fairness. It optimizes fairness. And when you're fair with yourself, you can be fair with others. I mean, one of the main issues on the workplace is a lack of fairness. I mean, if a supervisor or a manager told the employees to do something, but it was fair, the employee might say, I don't like it, but it's fair. Or I don't like it, but it's not unfair. I'm going to do it. So when there's management done in a fair way, there's less litigation, less absenteeism, less theft, better morale, fairness. So you got to be fair with yourself. You want to certainly be fair to others, but you have a responsibility to yourself. Now, if you make yourself miserable, let me tell you how dangerous it is. It's bad for you. Well, we all know that. But it's bad for the people that love you. It's bad for them. You're adding to it. You're adding to you're adding that stress to yourself in terms of feeding negative thoughts. It's going to affect your health. It's going to affect how much love you could give the people you want to show love to. You're doing this to yourself. You can't even see that your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your spouse, your husband, your wife, your children are suffering. You're so wrapped up in this whole tunnel that we're in. So it's really not fair for the people we love to do this to ourselves. So don't think what you do to yourself stays with yourself. What you do to yourself affects all the people you care about. And they may even worry about you. If your mother or your father sees you do it, they're going to worry about you. You're going to be damaging your parents or anybody that loves you is going to be worried about you. Or you might even be sending bad vibes out to them and they feel maybe they're going to take it personally. Hey, it doesn't like me. I don't know why it's just giving me these bad looks. It's not really having a bad look. It's like you're just feeding all of these really oppressive thoughts. And listen, to be negative is natural. It's part of survival. You got to pay attention to that. So, but when you go the way of honor, it takes an effort. Why wouldn't you want to do 8 seconds for the commandments of honor, 4 seconds for the bridge, another 8 seconds for the supremacy of honor code? To come out of all that self-oppression, it's a small investment of time, tiny. It's a very simple system, very effective, optimizes resiliency, optimizes releasing negativity. Yeah, thank you, Bernice. Really good. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, once again, it's been truly, and I say this sincerely, my privilege, my enjoyment, my pleasure to be able to share with you these ideas and the way of honor.